I'd like to call this meeting of the Board of Education of the School District of Baraboo to order for Monday, September the 12th, 2016 with roll call. Mr. Cummings. Here. Mr. Coleman. Here. Mr. McNevin. Here. Mr. Meering. Here. Ms. Riley. Here. Mr. Bedrow. Here. And Vodak here. Continue with the pledge. The flag is to the right of the screen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes of the meeting of August the 22nd, 2016 as printed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Riley, seconded by Coleman. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Minutes thus approved. As far as correspondence, there was a lot included in your board packet. There was a letter from the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction. Mr. Meering had an email from Tammy Porter regarding gymnastics. There was a notice in regards to a public hearing for a conditional use permit, property that's just to the north of the high school. And there was a notification of an article written by Jory Ruff that's going to be in the Wisconsin Association for Supervision and Curriculum Development highlighter publication. Any other administrative correspondence?
No more to add.
And I was not made aware of any other board member correspondence. That thus brings us to public viewpoint. Is there anyone here for public viewpoint tonight? Any public viewpoint? Any public viewpoint? Hearing none, I'd like to move along to the highlight of every board meeting, and that's the staff, student, and community recognition segment of our agenda. And I will turn it over to Dr. Miller.
And I'm gonna, first of all, I'm gonna let Jim talk, and then I have my own words to say. So go ahead, sir. I know you're prepared.
So, reason for the colorful audience here today. Obviously, one of our strategic planning goals is community partnerships, and we have just a great example of that, and that occurred this summer in August, just before school started. The football cheerleading team went to St. Clair Meadows on August 13th. They were there for the residents' summer party, and the cheerleaders help residents go get out to the summer party and walk them around the car show, socialize with the residents during the party, and then they performed a school song, another band dance, did some cheers to again entertain the residents. The residents enjoyed talking to the girls and loved their spirit. One resident said that she loved having them there and wanted them to keep doing their flips and kicks. kind of a neat thing. But so again, and that was something they did on their own. In fact, I didn't really even know about it until after they had done it. Took time out of their summer and did that. So that was a really cool thing. And then I think it was maybe only a couple days later when Terry Fichter emailed me and said that they had been there and it went really well and it was really cool. And do we have any other sports teams that might, it sounds like the residents said, hey, do you have any other teams or players that could come out? And so on August 29th, Coach Steve Turkington and Coach Darren Berger took this group of guys and girls and went there as well. What they did was they introduced the team members all introduced themselves to the residents. Then they played some Pictionary with the residents. That sounds like that would have been fun to be at. Should have got some video, I think, for that. Sounds like maybe the boys did most of the playing, the boys and girls, and then the residents kind of enjoyed and probably got some entertainment out of that. Then they sang the school song and did some cheers. Some of those guys did some cheers for the residents as well. Took a little tour of the building because some of the residents didn't get a chance to get out of their rooms and didn't get to see them, and so again got to interact with them. Talking to Coach Turkington, he and Darren Berger and Steve Considine have already started making plans of returning maybe around Christmas time, bringing football and basketball and baseball and combining some teams and coming back again in December. I think the kids enjoyed it probably at least as much or more than the residents did. But again, it's a pleasure to work with student athletes and coaches like this that just very unselfish and giving. Again, it was some of their last days of their summer break, so to take that time and go spend time with some of our community members is was really a special thing. So I want to thank them too. Thanks for representing our school and our athletics department the way you guys do. It's really appreciated.
Is Crystal here?
Yeah.
Crystal, right here, right there. Do you have anything you'd like to say on behalf of the cheerleading team?
I know that they loved it, and actually we got contacted as well about coming sometime near Christmas to do some stuff with them. Mostly just hanging out with them was a fun experience, and from that I know some of them individually go there, and some of them asked about like going there additional times on their own as well.
That's fantastic.
They're enjoying it.
And Mr. Turkington, Mr. Berger?
Well, our experience was probably very similar. The kids, they enjoyed the experience, but I think also they found out how many people really care about them in the community, which was a really cool thing. We found out that at the resident's home, they have smart TVs, so they can watch our games on the cube. Mm-hmm. So we were letting them know it's every Friday night at 7 o'clock, and I guess they have it on Friday nights. They were planning to have our games on the TV, so which is really great that the kids find out there's a larger audience that cares about what they do outside of just our high school.
I just want to say, on behalf of the school district, we're just really thrilled that you guys are engaging with a portion of our population that needs that engagement, and they do care about you. And both of you are really close to my heart. I used to be a cheerleader, used to coach cheerleading. I watch you when you compete this winter, and I've been watching the football team for the past 3 years. Every game, I try to come every game, and I'm just proud of what I'm seeing on the field. We deserve to win that last game. You guys won that game. It was a moral victory. And Terry, I just want to say thank you too for allowing us the opportunity to come and engage with you as well. And we would love to do more. And it's this kind of partnership that makes us all strong as a community. So thank you so much.
I just wanted to add something to that. I'm kind of new at my job. I'm the volunteer coordinator at St. Clair Meadows. And, I was trying to think of new and different things to bring to our nursing home. And I think I did. From the photo that was on the St. Clair Meadows Facebook page, there was 2,152 views. And on the video, there was 2,354 views.
Awesome.
So that has reached. But not only that, this past summer, St. Clair Meadows has a summer youth program, and the kids in our community volunteered there, and they had 699 hours this summer in volunteering, playing bingo, bunco, one-on-one, delivering our papers, and that's not the hours included in the school year. So we had like an awesome group of kids and parents. I shouted out, and actually next week or this week I'm going up to BUU to get them involved too. So I'll see some of you guys up there next year. Anyways, thank you for being part of our community.
Thank you, Terry.
Okay, that brings us then to continuous school improvement, and for that I will turn to Mr. Carls.
Nobody's going to listen to your esoteric
Don't worry, Nick. We'll applaud when you're done. This is impressive, Nick.
I've got a lot of former students tonight. I thought for sure they'd stick around.
An old ACT.
ACT, right. So each of the board members, I give you a paper copy of the summary results of our ACT assessment, which I'm able to share with you now. So this is from the class of 2016, and excited about this because what you're going to notice about in that first table, table 1, if you go all the way down to where it says 2016 and you see it in bold going across, you're going to notice that the number of students who have taken the assessment have increased. So this is the first time when all students are required to take the assessment, which is great because it gives students who maybe normally wouldn't have taken that assessment the opportunity to gauge where they're at on it and potentially have some availability to move on past high school and get some opportunities that they wouldn't have sought out earlier. So with that, you're going to notice that a slight dip in the composite score, which you'll see all the way over to the right. which was expected and happened across the state. Okay, so 226 students from the Baraboo High School graduating class of 2016 took that ACT assessment as juniors. This composite score is the whole number average of the 4 subject area scores. The highest possible score on the exam was a 36. Baraboo's composite score was 20.5, which is comparable to the statewide average of 20.5 as well. You will notice that the seniors, they scored just higher than their state peers in the areas of math and reading. And just a side note, Wisconsin ranks 4th in the nation when compared to other schools in the nation who also test all of their juniors. And not all states do that right now.
How many
I
do?
believe is it 19?
I think it's 18.
18?
18 or 19, yeah.
So figure 1, that's the percent of ACT tested students ready for college level coursework. So additionally, the ACT has collaborated with universities and post-secondary institutions across the nation to determine how prepared students are for college level classes. So a certain value is set in each subject area, and students scoring at or above the benchmark score are deemed ready for college coursework. So you'll note that the Baraboo graduates scored above the state average in 3 out of the 4 areas there. And then if you move on to figures 2 and 3, that's value added for math and science. ACT research has shown that it is rigor rather than just coursework that has the greatest impact on the ACT performance. So it's really about the pathway that students take. So you'll notice that our graduates who took Algebra 1, Algebra 2, Geometry, and Calc, they clearly outperformed the state average in this area and had the highest result on this assessment in math for our graduates. Then additionally, our graduates who took bio, chemistry, and physics achieved higher scores in science amongst our graduates. So you can look at the various pathways and how that correlates to the score that they would see on that assessment. So what you're seeing on those 2 charts is the score out of 36. Give you a moment just to look through that. So as far as next steps, what does this mean? Professional development for staff on the use of this data to improve instruction for students. This has been planned, so we actually presented this data in kind of a just similar format to what we're presenting to you today to the staff so they're aware of it. But a deeper dive is warranted to look at subgroups because there's some tools that I'll have on my end that will allow me to do that, and then getting that out to staff of how some of those various subgroups did on the assessment as well. Any questions?
Well, how many years do we require science now? Is it
3.
3? And do we have a lot of our juniors who haven't had 3 years at that point? I mean, so when we start looking at some of these scores, it's like...
Our juniors now will have had those 3 years, that pathway of...
Our current juniors.
Our current
Yeah.
juniors.
Right, but the 2016 juniors may
But
not.
the 2016 juniors did not.
Right.
Yes.
So we're saying, okay, you gotta take the sciences and they're basically penciled in to try to get them through their junior year.
Yep.
Okay.
And actually, I mean, that was a recommendation that came from looking at this exact same data 5 years ago, 6
Yeah.
years ago. Yep.
Yeah, if you had less science, you're
Mhm.
not gonna do as well in science.
Correct,
Yeah.
right.
So, yeah.
We're spending a whole day next Monday on the 19th looking at our ACT data with all 4 of our content areas, and we're bringing somebody in who has a really good reputation for working with staff on not only the ACT data, but also all of our Aspire data from last spring, which those results came in July. So I think it'll be a really great opportunity to look at
Who is
what this means.
Who is this person that's coming in?
His name is Eric Larson, and he works with a variety of school districts in southwestern Wisconsin as a curriculum leader.
Okay.
So we'll be able to not only look at what this means to us, and but also look at how it ties into what we're doing with our curriculum currently, how we're designing assessments, and how we can prepare our students better day in, day out for being successful on these important standardized tests that they take.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, thanks, Nick.
Thanks, Nick.
Bring this then to personnel recommendations. The first under approval of long-term subs is Deborah Poppy for GLW's third grade. Would entertain a motion for the approval for Deborah Poppy for that position at GLW.
And I'll second it.
Motion by Coleman, seconded by Meering. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Brings us then to B, approval of additional prep compensation. Included in your board packet was the request for Kim Pershka. There is also an additional request for Lynn Gunnell. This is in conjunction with our handbook language and the compensation that is supposedly comes from the handbook. So I would thus ask for the approval of not only the additional compensation for Kim, but also the additional compensation for Lynn as well.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion by Vedro, seconded by Riley. Any discussion?
Are we gonna need to approve this each and every time these come up, or?
Well, we did bring a list for you to approve earlier in the
Sure.
summer, and these two,
These are just ones that kind of, okay, I didn't know that.
yes,
some-
we should not have any more that come forward.
Okay, okay.
Unless we make some adjustments to the second semester
Did you
schedule.
see how I tried to steer that? Yeah.
Just wanted to cover myself.
Guarantee it won't happen unless it changes.
Yep.
Did we vote? I don't remember.
No, we have not.
Okay, having had discussion, is there any more? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Thus brings us to C, the approval of the Baraboo Secretarial Clerical Organization. Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. McNevin, seconded by Ms. Riley. Just to make clear that this motion is for the adjustment of the .12 CPI increase. We will have an additional motion after this. Any discussion on this particular part of the motion? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. And then also, I would entertain a motion for the recommendation to a total increase of 1.75, which is accomplished with supplemental pay, and that's in alignment with the other groups that we have negotiated with and are negotiating with. So do it. A motion by Vedra, who was the second? Seconded by McNevin. Any discussion in that regard? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Brings us then to new business for the approval of the disbursements. Alternative Chair of Finance, Mr. McNevin.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion by McNevin, seconded by Cummings. Any discussion on the disbursements? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Brings us then to B, the request for the approval of the overseas student trip. I believe they're going to
Switzerland and Italy.
Yep, and Mr. Bull is here to talk about it. This
Woo-hoo!
is, yep.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Jake Bolt, fifth-year teacher here at the high school. I'll let these three introduce themselves. These were on our last trip. I was here 2 years ago when I asked permission to go to Europe to see World War II sites. So this past summer we went to England, France, Belgium, Germany, and Austria. So I'd like you three to fill us in a little bit about your favorite parts of that trip.
All right, I'm Connor Kowalski. I'm a senior here at the high school. I really enjoyed this trip. I think I can speak for all my friends and classmates that were there. It's not something you get to do every day where you go to, how many countries did we go to?
5. Well,
5.
6 if you count the airport in the Netherlands.
You do get to count that.
It's not every
More I
day
went
or
to.
every year that you go to 6 different countries. And it was just an amazing experience. It was definitely a culture shock at times, but I don't think anyone didn't enjoy it. I mean, it's something I'll never forget, and that I'll be able to tell like my friends, my family, and my kids someday about all these fun stories about what we did in Europe. So.
And you didn't get arrested, right?
No, there were a lot of police in France, but we made sure we behaved.
You're not supposed to hesitate on that.
You gotta come right out at it. Not that you remember. Not that you remember.
Yeah. No, we were there strictly on U.S. laws, and we abided to those laws. So
I mean, besides the fact that we learned so much about World War II, it was just just walking around and meeting people who lived there and hearing, just like normal day stuff, like about the election that was going on, or about their political views on what's going on in America right now. It just, being able to interact with these people was fantastic. It was so cool. It was just an unbelievably awesome trip. I have.
Well, wasn't the first day kind of a boring day politically? That was Brexit. The Brexit vote was.
Yeah, we arrived the morning that the vote was announced.
Yeah,
so
in London.
We're in an uproar.
There was a lot of talking about it. But we were in London at the time, so it was. It was really cool.
This is Morgan May, a junior here at the high school.
I'm not a student. My name's Pat Lefevre. I'm EVP and Chief Credit Officer at the Baraboo National Bank, and my son David Lefevre attended. He's in driver's ed right now, so he attended. We had a fabulous time. One thing I would just point out is this trip was so well organized, and the leadership that came from this high school was so phenomenal. It was unbelievably well done, and every step was just to the T. I was so impressed, not only with the leadership of the program, but also with the selection of the youth. The kids got along perfectly well. My son was a dorky freshman. He was in with the senior crowd, and they treated him just like one of the guys. And so it was a very fine trip. I can't speak highly enough of it, and those who participated in it and those who organized it.
Mr. Bull was great on the trip. He was. Yeah, if you do any of these other trips, make sure he's going along.
Just pay her later.
Just to echo what Pat said, you would have been very proud of our Baraboo students. They were so well behaved, so respectful to our tour guides, to the veterans that we met along the way. They were just top notch. So, all right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a 14-minute video that Lori shared with all of you earlier this summer. I don't want to take up 14 minutes of your time, but I thought I'd just kind of skip around and show you a couple of pictures. Would that be okay?
Sure.
All right. Saw the beaches of Normandy. This is Omaha Beach. American Cemetery. And we moved on to Paris. I'll go back a little. This is Bastogne, Battle of the Bulge location. We had a wonderful tour guide here that was 9 years old at the Battle of the Bulge, and he told us his story. His father was killed during the battle. These are the foxholes. If you've seen Band of Brothers, this is the location. That's Henry, our tour guide. And this is the American Cemetery at Ardennes. Now we're in Berlin. It's the Holocaust Memorial. We saw the Berlin Wall. Had another wonderful tour guide here. Saw the parking lot, which is over where it used to be Hitler's bunker in Berlin. Those are stumbling stones where Jews were rounded up during the Holocaust. There's the parking lot. We visited there. So we had local tour guides in all of the cities we were in. From Berlin, we went to Nuremberg. Oh, this is Dachau. Dachau, Nuremberg. Again, students were so well behaved here, so reflective. We did some journaling while we were there. And many of them, most of them, took a World War II course with Mr. Flesch last year to get some information before we went on the trip. So they had more of an appreciation, and that was wonderful. And we ended in Salzburg, in Austria. And my personal favorite was probably the Eagle's Nest. It was just incredible in the Austrian Alps. Went up the elevator that takes you to the top, so it was incredible. Alright, so thanks. You can watch the whole video. Many of you, I'm sure, already have.
Well, you really captured it well, Jake, and I love how you incorporated the past photos with our students. It's just really well done and something that the students can cherish for a long time.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was haunting to walk in those same places where this history took place, but very moving. So it'll stick with, it certainly sticks with me and our students as well. So because it was so successful, I'm here to ask if we can do it again in 2 years.
Move to approve.
So this was a World War II themed trip. So with our history department, we thought we would do a world history themed trip. So you can see here an itinerary for Switzerland and Italy. So we're going to see ancient Rome, see Pompeii, see those sites. Going through the same tour company, EF Tours, which we were very pleased with. They include the airfare, they include 2 meals a day, local tour guides, entrances to most of the attractions. I was happy, very happy with that.
Well, you also have a parent supporting
all
of this, which is so nice. I'm sorry, I don't know if he's still here.
Yep, Mr. Lefevre.
Thank you so much. It's awfully nice to get that perspective and to see that we're these kinds of programs, and especially how you describe your son being integrated into it and the experiences, and that as a father, as a parent, we're providing a life experience as well as an education.
Was there a second to Mr. Nevin's motion?
Second.
Having a motion and a second.
Glenn Goldstein's motion.
That was Mr. Goldstein's motion.
I saw your voice. I'll take it. I'll take it for the team.
Funny down there.
Where's this puppet?
Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you very much for presenting.
Brings us then to C, the approval of the early graduation request. The letter was provided to you.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Meering, seconded by Vedro. Any discussion?
This is the gentleman who's returning after many years, right? Is that correct?
No.
This is a different.
Yep, this is different.
Well, I will approve it.
Okay. I think I know what you're referencing, the one that was in our e-newsletter.
Yeah.
No, this is actually a student who is 18.
Excellent.
Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Brings us then to the approval of the shared services contract. Any motion to that effect?
I move to approve the shared service contract as listed in our board packet.
Second.
Motion by Meering, seconded by McNevin. Any discussion?
Is this a new regulation that we're having to meet to do this?
No, this is a unique circumstance that when Wisconsin Dells approved their open enrollment applications for 4K, they had a limited number of spots available. And so they offered those to select number of parents. Some parents opted not to enroll their students in the Wisconsin Dells School District. But the the Dells didn't start a waiting list, so they then couldn't go back and offer those spaces to people on their waiting list. And so there was a couple of options that they could do. The parents could apply for open enrollment under an alternative application, but they couldn't do that until after the third Friday count. And they wanted these children to be able to start the school year with them. And so by doing a tuition agreement, that's one way we're able to do that.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Brings us then to the board policies for first reading. For that, I will turn to Chair of Policy, Mr. Meering.
Yeah, I'd like to move to approve the first reading of the following four policies. 342.6, alternative education and curriculum modifications. 345.62, high school graduation exercises. 532.32, military leaves and absences. And 534, guest teachers. And as it's listed and written in your board packet.
Second. Motion by Meering, seconded by Bedrow. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'll just briefly talk about these. The alternative education, those are just there so that we can continue to give more opportunities and so that it's listed in our policies what those other opportunities are versus the standard pathways. The high school graduation, that's there for I don't know what term to necessarily use, but just to encourage our seniors to continue to attend, especially even after they turn 18. And so if their attendance isn't at a certain level, then they will not be walking across the stage. And then the military leave, that's just so that we're in compliance with federal regulations. And the guest teachers, that is just a change in nomenclature from substitute to guest teachers. So those are the changes that were made in the policies.
Okay, thank you for the explanation. Any questions from any other board members?
On the graduation policy, I mean, was there a problem? Are we?
I'm going to let Clint
Yes, Clint is the best person.
He's our expert on that.
Yeah, well, in the 4 years that I've been here so far, it's been getting worse and worse every single year. As soon as our students turn 18, they feel they don't have to attend school because there isn't a consequence if they don't. We can't refer them for truancy. Based under state statute, we could. However, in conversations with law enforcement and
right, so that's out.
Yeah, truancy is out.
And they've met the requirements to get a diploma.
Well, that's the thing. For many of these students, by not attending some of these classes, they are putting themselves at risk of not graduating. This at least puts that carrot out there that you need to attend, and hopefully by doing that, their grades will stay higher and it won't put them in a situation where they won't risk graduation completely. This would just be the ceremony, not graduating. They'll still get their diploma, they just wouldn't walk the stage.
It is somewhat of a carrot. It's pretty common that school districts have some kind of language like this in like policy we seem to be the only, I mean, we looked at a lot of comparables, we don't have anything in our policy that acts as a carrot, and other school districts have already moved in this direction years ago. I don't know if it'll work, but.
Well, I just wonder the alternative too. I mean, do we, you probably only have 6, 7 sets of parents that are just angry because their kid missed it by 3, 4 days or whatever, you know, but we'll deal with that when it comes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we built into the language in that a way that the students and the families can come back to the high school, approach an administrator to work out a plan to earn back the graduation ceremony. So it's not an all or nothing.
So it's a notification process that,
yes,
get your act together, otherwise you aren't graduating.
Or you're not walking.
You're not walking.
You're not walking.
Right.
One of the things we discussed in committee, which I think is important to bring to the board and for us to consider, so many of these quote incentives really are negative. We need to have also positive incentives. And there are many entities and organizations that recognize that as a culture we have very few rituals that support young men and women reaching maturity. And one of the things that I would be most interested in is looking at some kind of best practice that would be connected especially to this group of young people who are turning 18, who are entering into maturity, to honor and recognize them as a way of positively incenting them to remain in school as a model to younger people and also as something to serve their own best interests. And I don't have an answer or solution, but I do think it's something that we ought to be taking a look at, because this is not just a problem for us. There is a big problem. It's a much larger problem, and maybe we can find some people who are dealing effectively with it. I do know that young people enjoy being acknowledged and recognized in a ritual manner. And that if we can incorporate that somehow into this policy and make it special that you're turning 18 and therefore you have an additional responsibility, and we want to honor that if you stay in school.
Any other discussion in any of the 4 policies for the first reading? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion as presented for the first reading, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. And as per policy, these will come back for the second reading at the next board meeting. Brings us then to updates from the ad hoc committee of the Board of the Modernized Community Campus Strategic Direction. For that, I will turn to Mr. McNevin.
Well, we continue to meet, including the ad hoc committee, which involved community members. Not everybody was able to attend that. Some were taking their kids to college, and some were drafted fantasy football. But other than that, both legitimate reasons to not make the meeting. In your board packet is the timetable of the communications. You can see that there's a lot of activity going on between now and fall voting season as far as getting the word out. We've had a little summer lull deliberately because the campaign needs to kind of reset and say, okay, this is where we're at. We're at $22 million. This is what it is. This is what it isn't. We do have a lingering effect of people thinking that maybe the field house is part of it. We heard that feedback at the committee level from our community members. And that's okay. We knew that information was out there. We knew that we had listened to the public and we're not doing that part of it. And it scaled it back from 36 million to 22 million. The fact sheets clearly laying out. We have postcards, we have ad buys in the newspaper, we have mailers, we have stuffers, lots of different ways to communicate, and reaching out to civic groups again is another strong one. You all got a copy of your referendum fact sheet handed out, as well as what is in your packet. One key thing I would like to point out that we spent some time on is your last page of your digital board packet is the permitted activities when it comes to referendums. The school administration really needs to walk a fine line. Board members have a little more latitude. The key things to remember is that we can share all kinds of information In fact, that's our role, is to share information out. We can use school resources to share that information. When it turns into express advocacy, whether that's yes or no activity, you need to back out of all engagement with the school resources. No using school emails to say vote yes. No printing off, using the copier to vote no, or those kind of things. No standing in school grounds, vote yes. You can stand on school grounds at the football game and hand these out to everybody. That's information sharing. You can even stand in the public street with a sign that says vote yes. That's okay, because you're not on school property. But you just can't be standing on school grounds doing those kind of things, as far as voting yes or voting no. So keep in mind, those are one of the things that you really want to make sure that we keep our nose clean, that we're information sharing. Board members are allowed advocacy, but we want to do it outside of school grounds and not using school resources.
And just to add, in your packet, you have a copy of the referendum fact sheet. 5,000 of them showed up today in our district office, so if you'd like, a handful of them, if you're going someplace and you'd like to use them, that would be great. They're gonna go in Friday folders for all of our families. We're putting them in, the fall programs or brochures, so that when people come into our facilities for events, they get a copy as well. Like Sean said, the Baraboo News Republic, we're purchasing inserts, and so that's coming up real soon. Postcards are supposed to go out in the mail sometime this week, and you have a copy of what that postcard looks like in your packet. Business cards have been made, so if you'd like a handful of business cards, that just, and you have a copy of that too, is just really directing people to where they go for information. You can get those from Christina. And info boards are coming for the schools this week. Bob's picking those up and bringing them to schools on Thursday, so.
We're also re-engaging staff. We presented at the high school, we presented at the middle school. We presented at ABE. I missed the GLW presentation. But otherwise, we're going back through, talking to all staff about the scope of the project, how we got here, how things got determined, and where we go from here. So we want to make sure all staff has an understanding of the scope and sequence of the projects.
I'll keep sharing with you as we schedule events where there's communication engagement, so that you are welcome to participate in any way you can. I'll try to keep you updated as much as possible.
Just a recommendation, we just had an example of student engagement. I'd love to equip our young people with some of these ballot materials.
That's what Sean did tonight, right before the board meeting.
Well, yeah, we recorded the morning message to the high school staff and students, so that they'll see the presentation that we're sharing with the public. They get a great update from me. My daughter gets to die of embarrassment.
Did you have her sitting next to you while she was taping? That would have been better.
I'm gonna wake up with 4 flat tires from her, but other than that.
So that's ready to go fun. But yeah, that's in that spirit, Peter. Yeah.
Well, and we have football players knocking on doors in the community, requesting.
We can't make them do that, but if they were spirited to do that on their own, that would be fantastic.
Okay, anything else? If there's nothing else, thank you very much for the update. I would thus entertain a motion for executive closed session as per Wisconsin statute 19.85 sub 1 sub C.
So moved.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, roll call. Mr. Cummings?
Aye.
Mr. Coleman?
Aye.
Mr. McNevin?
Aye.
Mr. Meering?
Aye.
Ms. Riley?
Aye.
Mr. Bedrow?
Aye.
And Bodak? Aye.
I put it on there.
We are now reconvened in open session to take action upon items for discussion that were discussed and actionable items from closed session. The first item for action is the approval of the 2016-2017 non-certified, non-representative staff wage increases of 1.75, with the exception of the tech department, which we will be dealing with at another meeting. So I would thus entertain the motion for the approval of the non-certified, non-representative staffs with the exclusion of the tech support staff implemented as presented.
Motion to approve. Second.
Having a motion by Cummings, seconded by Coleman. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Brings us then to action on the 2016-2017 administrator and director contracts. I would entertain a motion for the acceptance of the administrator and director contracts as presented. And in addition, the district administrator salary would be a $5,000 increase, and the board's rating for the district administrator to be noted as distinguished.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. I would thus entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.